Hey, it's me, Mac Monroe, the founder and CEO of Boss Builders. Attention, business owners, CEOs, and HR professionals. Do you have managers who lack the basic skills to be a great boss? Better contact Mac. Your managers afraid to address performance issues with employees? Better contact Mac. Managers unable to complete the most rudimentary processes as a boss? Better contact Mac. You're pulling your hair out, wishing your managers would simply step up and do their job? Better contact Mac. Here at Boss Builders, we provide the basic skills every manager needs to be a great boss. We do this in 3 ways. First, our team of skilled professionals facilitate our signature workshop, Driving Results. This 4-day program, offered in whatever time chunks you need, gives participants the basic skills to fix systems and processes, develop employees, and protect your house. We also offer our popular video-based Boss Builder Academy, which allows your managers to have basic skills training delivered to them in short, effective, how-to videos, which are supplemented by our monthly roundtable sessions. Finally, we offer our Driving Results curriculum to organizations that want to license it and deliver it using their own in-house trainers. For more information on how we can help you improve the quality of your managers, better contact Mac. You can do that at bettercontactmac.com or reach us by phone at 931-221-2988. Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Boss Builder Podcast, the podcast for those of you who are new to supervision, those of you who are in the role and struggling, and even those of you who are thinking about eventually making that transition to management. This is Mac Monroe, the Boss Builder, and what we're going to talk about today is leading with the head, the hands, and the heart. Now, right away, some of you feel a little sick to your stomachs. It's okay. Our guest today is Senn. He is the president of Dancing Shepherd. Now, it's a really, really interesting name. Sam is going to go over what it means. But here's what you are going to take out of today's episode. You'll find out why it is so important for you to be a mentor to somebody and to be mentored. It's important for you to have personal and professional growth. And Sam's going to give you a framework to do that. However, if you are an HR professional and you're tuning in for this podcast, be ready to take good notes because Sam is going to give you the formula for having a simple yet not simplistic mentoring, I'm not going to call it a program because that's the kiss of death, but a mentoring strategy to grow your talent. Sam is an interesting guy. He's from the Seattle area, and at the end he'll give you his contact information. He's got an offer to give you his template for nothing, so please take him up with that. This is a great conversation. I know you're going to love it. So, with no further delay, let's meet our guest, Senn. Senn. Welcome to the show.
Why, thank you, Mr. Mack. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. I'm really glad we get a chance to do this. So I'm going to let my audience know a little bit about how we met. I was speaking at the Washington State HR conference. I guess it was back in April, and I always make an offer if anybody wants to do a lunch and learn. I'm happy. And so I collected a bunch of cards, and I sent them to Lisa, my assistant, and she says, well, I'm going to get you to Seattle, and you can spend a week, and you're going to meet with Dancing Shepherd. And I thought, okay, I have no idea what that is or what they do. Yeah. I could find very little information. But as it happens, we met for coffee. We had a great conversation. I really, really loved hearing about the things that you guys are doing. And so it's been great getting you here on the show. And so the topic today is creating a culture of exceptional leadership. And this is kind of interesting. You have head, hands, and heart. So we'll get into that, Sam. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about Dancing Shepherd. What's it mean? Where did it come from? And how does that relate to what you do with emerging leaders?
Oh, that's outstanding. Thank you very much, Mac. And I got to tell you, no good deed will go unpunished. So thank you for taking the time to meet with me when we met in Seattle. And just for the rest of the folks out there, I want to throw it back to you. Mac, it's been wonderful working with you and talking with you. And if people get a chance to, please do. But Dancing Shepherd. So Dancing Shepherd is a leadership consultancy. And the name actually came from our dog, believe it or not. We have a German Shepherd dog. And one thing that we have always loved about that dog and the leadership lessons that he taught us is that sense of joy, that sense of purpose. And that's kind of the dancing part. And the other side is the shepherd, that unconditional love and loyalty and getting stuff done. And one of the things that I've found, Mac, is I'm, counseling leaders, and just give you a little bit of background. I, at one time ran an organization of over 4,000 folks and had lots of leaders to coach and organizational development to do and all that kind of good stuff. But some of the things that I found that were really, really critical for people's success was that understanding that sweet spot between loving what you do and being good at it and lifting others to do the same. And so the dancing shepherd, the connection between that is really this idea that great leaders have a great passion for what they do. They have a joy, that dancing piece. And frankly, they also understand when to pivot that and move to the space where they're taking care of the things that they're responsible for. We can have all the joy and all the dance that we want, but if we're not delivering the goods, that's not going to achieve anything. And then if we have that sense of execution and getting stuff done, that kind of leads to the leader who hollers out all the time, "This is why we can't have nice things," and there's not much joy in Mudville, right? So really great leaders understand that fine line between character and competence. And another thing, they and that joy in the dancing and the shepherd piece. But another thing too that's really, really important, as I've developed lots of leaders who've gone on to do really great things, is that they really understand that there's not you're not trying to find a balance per se of those things. What you're trying to find is when to know how to toggle back and forth between those things, when to be fully into it, fully passionate, fully innovative, all those kinds of behaviors that really bring joy to the work and to your life and to the people around you. And knowing when it's time to stop, pull that trigger, pardon the expression, butts in seats, getting stuff done and delivering the goods, and knowing when to go to that shepherd piece. And then frankly, when is it time to step back away from that and return to the excitement, the innovation, and the joy of doing the work that you need to do. Instead of originally kind of developed as out of respect to that wonderful German Shepherd that we have. And so much so, Mac, I ended up naming my son after that German Shepherd. And we're just kind of lucky that the dog's name was not Spot or Rover or something like that. It was Dacre. And I said to that boy, I said, "Look, if you become half the man this dog is, you're gonna do all right." But again, that sense of joy, passion for what you do, and that deeper satisfaction, abiding satisfaction of being incredibly competent and being there for those you're responsible for and that you love.
That's great. That's great. Well, then the head, hands, and heart. So what is whole person leadership, and how does that impact success for individuals and also the organization?
Sure. One of the things that we focus on is whole person leadership, and did a lot of work with Stephen Covey in my earlier years. And one of the things that he focused on was this idea of people are multidimensional, right? You just don't, you can hire their hands, you can hire their back, but to earn their respect and to earn their passion for what you do and their loyalty takes a whole nother level of thinking. And whole person thinking looks at people in 4 dimensions. So we hear this a lot in different variations: mind, body, soul, heart, hands, head, that kind of stuff. But Covey focused on it was body, mind, heart, and spirit. So the body to live. When we respect and understand that people have to get by in this world, they have to feel safe. They have to feel like they're not constantly looking over their shoulder, that kind of stuff. We see it a lot in kind of trust, information, that kind of stuff nowadays, where people talk a lot about building trust in organizations and psychological safety and all that kind of stuff. But there's also practical and physical safety. Is this job going to be enough to take care of my family? Is it going to be able to, am I in a place where I can be safe and get stuff done and not have to worry that this is my last paycheck every other week kind of stuff? So that body to live. The other one is the mind, which is to learn. All people are intrinsically motivated and curious about how things work and how they can make it better. How they can make themselves better. So you have to appeal to that mind to learn, to love, or of heart, which is another piece of his whole person thinking. The heart is to love. Now we need to be very careful here, and I'm sure there's some HR folks that are on your podcast as audience as well. We're not talking about that kind of love in the workplace, but we do have to have a deep and abiding love for the people around us, and to develop positive and effective relationships. And then finally, in Covey's version of this is the word spirit, or the sense of legacy, that because you are here, the world is a better place for it. And so when you add all those up, people need to have an opportunity to achieve those things or work within those things from a whole person leadership. So your work should involve something that really helps you feel secure. That's your body. Something that helps you stimulate your mind or challenge your way of thinking, the way that you do business. Heart, to make sure you've got positive people around you and relationships. And then at the end of that is that sense of legacy, that what you've done is made a difference. And coming back really quickly to love and the relationship piece, I know you've seen a lot of the Gallup stuff about what's important to people at work, and the staff and engagement surveys. And one of the ones that always fascinated me, Mac, was the one that said, do you have a best friend at work? And come to find out that is a direct corollary to performance, and a direct corollary to engagement, commitment, loyalty, sick leave, all kinds of things that really, improve the bottom line. But it really came down to this sense of, do you have a positive and effective relationship at work? So that's whole person thinking. And then how that affects the leadership development piece is just making sure that people have that kind of stuff in their life. And it's looking at people as multidimensional and making sure that your leadership development programs impact those things and engage people at that level.
That's an awful lot. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about, if all of my customers were listening to this podcast right now, there would be probably a majority of them that would be nodding and saying, that's powerful. That's great stuff. People devote, most of their best hours of their day at work. And if we can create that kind of culture at work, this would be just a great place to be. And then I have a smaller percentage that would probably be wanting to throw up in their mouth a little bit right now. And so in the spirit of honesty, okay, let's talk about, how would we do this, Sam? You've got a framework for doing this. How would that work in an organization? How do you take that concept, which I believe in and I think is amazing, and make that work in an organization? Yeah,
I'm telling you, my friend, you got to get past the kumbaya. So that first that first part, has a whole lot of joy written all over it, right? So I understand that, but the shepherd, has a lot of dancing in it, but the shepherd part has to come through too. You have to figure out a way to tie this to the bottom line. And even interestingly enough, some of those folks who might throw up in their mouth a little bit, you have to honor that too. They're the folks who want to get stuff done. And they're focused on the body, and they're focused on legacy and some of those kinds of things. And so, you have to respect all elements of that. And that's what, that intrinsic motivation kind of stuff is about. But getting to the plan, it's a real simple process. We use a basic plan that really starts with your legacy. At the end of the day, what is it that you want to get done here? And I'm not talking about in a big flowery kind of, therefore thou, I want to change the world, that kind of stuff. I think those things are powerful. But one of the things you need to do is understand what it is that you want to be remembered for as a leader. And Mac, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but if you could tell me, just one or two things, if people are impacted by the work you do, what are some of the things that you want people to say? What is it that you want people to be inspired by?
Oh, I would say that when they're done working with us, that they feel like they have grown professionally and personally.
Right.
They've grown as a result of working with us.
Yeah. So they've experienced growth. So that's part of the thing that you want to make sure that you have as part of your legacy, and all your actions and behaviors start to or move to align with that. And so, Mac, I know you work with lots of different types of organizations, but one of the things we need to tie this to is it's not just a personal development plan, it's in alignment with the organizational plans. So when people are looking at that and they say, I want to be somebody who helps people grow, well, you have to define, what does that mean to the organization? What does that mean to, bottom line value? So you want people to say that you help them grow, but when you help them grow, what does that add up to? So what are the primary contributions to the organizational goals, values, organizational culture, and the impact of the people that we serve, or the people that do the serving? What is the direct correlation to do that? So when people grow, for example, what might be an operational outcome that comes from that?
Yeah. So I'm thinking, it goes to talent development, that people come and they learn and they grow and they become excited about the next promotion. And so even in a bad economy, we retain our best people.
Right, right. We retain our best people, which is absolutely expensive to turnover is a huge thing. We retain our best people. We also have people who are more resilient. We have people who, instead of saying, "Well, I guess that's the way it is," or just kind of go down with the burning ship kind of stuff, they're the people who step up and say, "No, we've got this. We can do something about this," because they're more confident, they're more capable, or whatever. So it has to find some way to a primary contribution to the organizational goals, not just the thing that provides you happiness and joy. So, what do you aspire to? What do you want people to say about you? How does that directly connect to bottom line goals? The next step we take people through is a very simple. What are your strengths and stretches? What's helping you get here, and what's getting in your way. You don't have to get overcomplicated with that. Some of the things that happen with a lot of these programs, they have a tendency to kind of die under their own weight. You've got 360 evaluations and strengths assessments and personality assessments and that kind of stuff. I can tell you right now, one of the easiest assessments is to look to your left and to your right and say to your partners and say, what am I doing that's helping? And what am I doing that's stupid that's not helping? And they have a tendency to be very direct if you're very sincere about wanting to do stuff about that. So while I very much agree with using a lot of the more detailed tools and that kind of stuff, just be very clear about what are the things that are helping me get closer to being in a position to help people grow and be effective at that. And frankly, what are things that I need to stop doing? There's that old bad hee-haw joke about doctor, I broke my leg in 3 places. And what does the doctor say, Mac?
I missed this one. What did he say?
He said, stay out of those places, right? So what you have to do.
I admit I watched it, but some of that humor is quite forgettable. But thank you for bringing that back.
It can be, my friend. I'm glad I could help you recall, right? Yeah.
Right.
And it's important to ask the people around you, but you also need to be very prepared for the feedback. It may not be what you want to hear, and with being careful not to take too much license with the hee-haw stuff. There's the old one about getting the doctor told you you're not doing too well, and you ask for a second opinion. The doctor says you're ugly too, right? So you have to do a couple of things. First of all, you have to be brave enough to ask. Secondly, you need to be self-aware and honest, about what it is and do something with it. So starting at the top again, legacy. What do I aspire to? What do I want people to say? And how does that really help the business make more business? What are the things that I'm doing that are helpful? What are the things that are getting in the way and seeking advice and counsel to help you get there? And then this is where we get to the head, hands, and heart. And one thing that I really wanted to get into. So for the folks who need to move it from kind of the fluff to action. When you start to develop your plan, whole person thinking helps you understand that there's just not one way to learn. You need to put all of these things together. So this is where head, hands, and heart comes in. So, and we can even take a chance here, Mac. Give me a character that wants to, we can use it, help people grow, right? They want to learn
Right.
how to help people grow. Well, the head piece is the intellectual kind of thing. What would be an example of a intellectual exercise or educational exercise that somebody who wanted to help other people grow, what is something that they could do that would be from an educational and intellectual pursuit? What would be an example?
Maybe they'd have to learn some technical skills around giving feedback or coaching an employee.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about this in a management context.
Yeah, please. And it's spot on. So, go take that coaching class, or, make sure you get to Mac's, boss builder, work that helps you understand how these things work. It's like going to a boat show lots of times doesn't make you a captain, right? So you can go and learn, but that's a part of it. That's the mind piece. So head is education, intellectual pursuits that are going to help you gain an understanding of what this stuff is about. The next one is hands, right? You need to get out there and you need to get your hands dirty. What kind of projects could this person do? What could they volunteer for? What could they participate in that will give them real hands-on, productivity skills in this particular area? Again, tying this back to the bottom line. I mean, every organization has a strategic plan. Every organization has an operational plan. Every organization has KPIs and performance measurements and all this kind of stuff. Look up on that list and say, boss, I'd like to be able to affect that piece right here. And I'm trying to learn how to help people grow. If I can do some work in helping people grow, I think I can affect that particular piece of the bottom line. Can I do a demonstration project, or can I be offered a temporary opportunity to do something with that? But whatever you do, you're going to have to get some dirt underneath your fingernails to grow. And then the last piece is the heart. So we have head, hands, and heart. Head, intellectual pursuit. Hands-on projects that learn through doing. And then heart. This is a tough one, because one of the things you want to do with heart, it's about creating relationships with people that you have both a respect for from their values perspective, and also they're also getting the job done. So develop relationships, mentor relationships, formal, informal, whatever it might be. But as part of your plan, you need to have a mentor map that says, here are the kinds of people that I'm going to be meeting, or these are the people I'm going to be meeting. Here are the things that I want to learn from these folks, and taking advantage of that. Another thing I think it really helps people do from a leadership development perspective, a couple of things. One is it starts to build your network. So you're really meeting some people who can be influencers and supporters as you grow. Secondly, it gives you an opportunity to see through other people's eyes, so it builds your empathic skills. And don't seek mentors that just think just like you. Find mentors that seem different from you, because you need to know all those different perspectives. The people who get all excited when we're talking about joyfulness, and the people who get a little, put off by that. But all of those people have something to offer. The people who are focused on discipline, the people who are focused on engagement, and get to learn from those different people. Another thing it does for the organization, if you're a leader and you are encouraging people to do this kind of work, if you ever want somebody to be a great student, the best thing you can do is to make them a teacher. And what happens so often is, if you'll start to reach out to mentors, it helps them recall the kinds of things that they want to do and the best of what they've done. And frankly, it recalls them to step up and get back to those kinds of things. And now that they got somebody with eyes on them, they also very often start stepping up their game because they want to live into that image that you've created of them as their mentor. And then just to wrap it up, so we've gone through the process of legacy. What do I aspire to? Your skill challenge. What are the things that I want to do to create my personal best? What is my plan to get there? And the last piece is to make sure you've got clear understanding about the difference that it will make. Long term, what are the results that are going to happen from your growth? What's going to be different from the organization? What's going to be different for your capability to help impact the organization? And then it's also important to make sure that you're staying on track, not just on the task that you've decided for yourself, but also staying on task to know that you're getting the impact that you want. So I use a little something called see and say, which is we can have a milestone out there that says, sales are going to go up or whatever it might be. But the see and say are the temporary measures, the short-term measures on the way to get there. What are we seeing that's different than it has been before? What are people saying about your work? What are the differences in how people relate to you, all that kind of stuff. You have to have some temporary measures before you get to the big measures to know that you're at least stepping in the right direction. So that's kind of the overview of the development plan, and the head, hands, and heart. Head, intellectual pursuit. Hands, learn through doing. And then heart, making sure you're getting good lessons in relationships with mentors, advisors, and supporters.
New England Lean Consulting is the Northeast premier business consulting firm, helping small to medium-sized businesses implement strategic leadership and operational methodologies that help to lower costs, increase capacity, and win more customers. Their consultants provide guidance on the latest business solutions, including Lean, Six Sigma, ISO, as well as energy conservation and safety compliance to help you grow your business deliberately and strategically. Through their plan methods, you'll be able to build and sustain a long-term operational excellence advantage over your competition. To reach them, go to newenglandleanconsulting.com, or you can call them at 860-335-4787. I love it. It's a combination of something I think it's simple. Now that I've heard you talk through it, it sounds like it is practical. And more importantly, I think for a lot of my listeners, this is an impact on the bottom line. This isn't just doing something because it's fun and it's nice and people will feel good. So if we're going to employ this sounds like it's great for the individual. How could an organization make a system out of this for maybe identifying a pipeline of leaders in the organization?
That's an excellent question, Mac. And it is really helpful to have this as, anybody can start a head, hands, and heart kind of model, formally, informally. But it's really nice to have this integrated and aligned with what the organization is trying to do. And some of the benefits that come from that kind of stuff is you end up building exceptional leader skills all over the organization at multiple levels when you engage people like this. You also start creating a neural network of leaders that support one another and can develop one another, and it kind of raises everybody's game, kind of a rising tide kind of stuff. And it starts to build that bench much better, really kind of builds that more deep, highly capable bench. But one of the ways that I've done it is to create kind of a leadership cohort, use cohort-based learning where people actually, you pick whether it's high potentials or whatever it might be, but really start to develop people in a cohort. So whether, it's for 3 months, 6 months, or whatever it might be, really encourage people to take this journey together. And as they take this journey together, not only are they assigned to the opportunity to develop their skill sets, to assign an internal executive coach and mentor to each one of these characters as well. One of the things I've found is that it really is helpful to do this across lines a little bit. So, for example, if somebody works in the finance department, right, and they're identified as a high potential, certainly their direct leader is a mentor to them. But to have somebody from another department reach out to them and start to be their mentor. So maybe the technology leader is the one who's actually mentoring the guy from finance. So I know that may sound like a little bit of a, I don't know how I would put this, that, maybe this person is wanting and needing to develop their fiscal skills, no doubt. But what happens is with that technology leader becomes their mentor and the person that they go to for helping to guide and to support them. They also start to learn other parts of the business. And as learning other parts of the business, then they start to have more of those global leadership brains. Another kind of fun, unique process happens is where that technology leader, whoever it might be, if they're mentoring across the lines a little bit, we all start to kind of be more responsible for one another and more supportive of one another. And so I think it's really important to think about that in a cohort level, but also then go across your leadership management team and start to have those people cross-mentor and cross-pollinate a bit with the people that they serve. I think it's also important. I very often used a teach-to-learn model. So while people are going through a leadership curriculum and they're learning and that kind of stuff, it's the responsibility of both that mentor and also the high potential learner to bring that back to the organization. And so, for example, if they went out and learned something new about developing trust or creating a leadership culture, they bring that back and they teach that to the rest of the organization. So you're not only responsible for learning, you're responsible for teaching. And I think that helps quite a bit too. Another thing I ask folks to do is to make sure that everybody has a capstone project of some kind. Very similar to what we talked about earlier about getting your hands dirty and getting stuff done. One of the things that's really, really helpful is for folks to have that capstone project, but you also make sure that that is fully in alignment with your strategic plan and your operational plan. Anything that somebody's doing should never be busy work. It should be something that's going to impact the bottom line and impact the people around them as well. So that's really, really critical. And the last thing I like to do is just, for lack of a better description, I says get around the campfire to have mentoring conversations with key leaders. There's nothing so powerful as just people just slowing down long enough to sit down with one another and say, what is it that it looks like when we do this right? What is it that you've learned in your journey and in your process? And so very often I'll make sure that we have opportunities for key leaders to sit down with the individuals in the cohort and just, we play Stump the Chump. What have you done? What have what has worked for you? What's the stupidest thing you've ever done? And there's a certain amount of vulnerability that really comes into play. And it's really cool because you'll see these young kids kind of bright-eyed and they're looking up and they're thinking, oh, these people just never do anything stupid. Then they realize they're just human beings. And then they realize and get an appreciation for the fact that they're stepping up and doing things just as regular human beings, creating some, if not superhuman results, but just doing some pretty incredible things. At the same time, they're just like one another. And it humanizes the leader, but it also builds courage to say that, something, if this guy can do it, I can do it too. And it just builds courage in the learners as well.
Well, I've heard a lot of people talk about mentorship and which is always the kiss of death when they want to start a mentorship program. But this is probably one of the best designed strategies I think I've ever heard, Sam. This is great. The one challenge that we find in any of these kinds of things is, all right, so we've had the kickoff meeting, we're excited, we're moving forward. Then we get into it about 6 to 8 weeks, and now things get busy. And before you know it, that mentor meeting you had scheduled gets canceled. So how do you help both the people in your mentorship process, but more importantly, probably the mentors themselves? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them excited about this so they make it a priority?
It's a powerful question, Mac. And I mean, we're even kind of suffering from it a little bit here. It's a lot of data, but what you need to do is remember that this is not about process, right? It's about purpose. What are we trying to accomplish? And just constantly keep coming back to that and simplify it as much as possible. You asked a little bit, or I asked a little bit earlier, what's the thing that you want to focus on is when people walk away from you, what did they experience? I help people grow, right? So, you just need to have some very simple, repeatable things, and what happens if we help people grow? Well, more good people stay, and when they stay, they're stronger and, better, whatever those basic things are. And just keep coming back to that, because what happens is these things do have a tendency to die under their own weight. You've got mentoring agreements, you've got schedules, you've got all this kind of stuff. What you're really looking for is just constantly leaning into, am I working on the right stuff? Am I working for the right reasons? And if you can't connect with the formal meeting, can we connect by phone, or can we talk? Can we catch each other in the hallway? I had one lady who I really admired, that really helped me out with this. She had one simple question every time she saw me. A lot of times you run into each other. How you doing? What are you working on? That kind of stuff. She would ask me this one simple question, Mac, and it would affect me every time. She would say, Sam, are you on your purpose? Are you on your purpose? And at first I just kind of blew it off, right? But then I'd stop soon. What the heck is she talking about? And secondly, when I challenged myself, I said, sadly, first I said, I don't know. Because I know that I'm busy, right? I know I'm extremely busy, but I can't always guarantee that, I feel like I'm on my purpose. And so part of the process of really helping people, do this without getting overburdened by the bureaucracy of it all is to eliminate the bureaucracy as much as you can, in some ways, at least in your mind. Why'd you step out, through the front door on this stuff in the first place? Well, I wanted to be a leader with a reputation that helps somebody grow, right? And if I'm a mentor, right, why did I get involved in the first place? Because I want to see a leader get the job done. What's the job? Well, he helps people grow. And when they do, right, people stay on the job and they have higher productivity, whatever it is. Are we on our purpose? Is this happening? Is it working? You have to kind of give yourself a stand-up meeting kind of thing versus thinking about all these processes and all this stuff. There's just some real simple things going on. Am I on my purpose? What are we trying to achieve? Are we getting there at all? Am I making sure that I'm using my head? Am I working on things, learning how things work? Am I using my hands? Am I, delivering on something that's valuable? And am I making sure that I stay in touch and continue to connect with the people that can advise me and help me along? It doesn't need to get much more complicated than that. So I often call it what's in your wallet. Sometimes I will have the mentor and also the mentee write down the 3 things they want out of this relationship. Very simple. I want to grow. I want to help people feel stronger. I want to help people get more stuff done, right? That might be the 3 things. And the mentor is, I want to help somebody, be stronger in the work that they do. I want them to be more connected. I want them to be more efficient, whatever those 3 things are. And all you need to do is run into each other in the hallway or even with yourself. Am I on task? Am I on my purpose with these 3 things? And I think it just helps to simplify it and remember the why before you get too tangled up in all the complexity of the what.
Yeah, simple but not simplistic. That's I think. And if you're an HR professional listening to this and you are now thinking about your annual initiatives that you've probably told your boss, and one of them was start a mentoring program, stop what you're doing and listen to this podcast 75 times. This is the way to get it done.
Yeah.
So
my pleasure. One of the blessings of doing the work that I do, I love people, but I also had the responsibility of of delivering the goods. And so with that, yeah, you just need to, I'm going to steal that one for you, Mac. Simple, not simplistic.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'm going to ask you to put on your long-term vision now, Sam. And as you think about the next few years, what do you see as being the most critical skills that any emerging leader is going to have to master?
I think there's a few, but I think way up there on the top of the list just has to be the ability to learn, both the ability to learn and the passion to want to learn. And what do I mean by that? Is the world's going to change around us. Job titles are going to change, expectations, skill sets, all that kind of stuff are going to change. And you don't want to be that character that waits until that happens and you find yourself in the retraining line or whatever. You want to do that in real time, and you want to be able to adjust and move with that. There's tons of information out there that suggests that, the job descriptions that we have today, they won't even exist in a few years, and the ones that will exist, we're not sure what that's going to look like. So the skill set has to be, and I know this is kind of an old buzzword, but that constant learner kind of thing. But to do that, there's process. You need to have the passion for it, but just the process too. And if we'll go back to and talk about keeping it simple but not simplistic, go back to that head, hands, and heart. If you've got a challenging situation, or you've got something that you're trying to lean into that you're not so sure about, or you're trying to stay on the cutting edge of stuff, man, it's real simple. What are the educational and informational pursuits that you can do to help wrap your mind around it, to feed that curiosity about what's going on? What are some ways that you can test this? What are some ways that you can get your hands dirty and participate in some way that you really can move past just an intellectual understanding, but really see how it works? It can be even as simple, Mac, very often, if I wanted to learn something, I would go and ask the person that's doing it, can I sit in your chair for an hour? Right? Can I turn these wrenches? Can I answer this phone call? Can I send this email? Whatever it might be. And you may not learn a whole lot, but you'll learn a whole lot more by doing. So head, hands, and heart. And that last piece is, I don't know what this might be, but I bet you I know somebody who does. And keeping your network constantly alive, keeping your curiosity and your questions of people who are either in the industry or might be adjacent to it, and just that desire to connect with people and always learn. So again, probably the biggest thing that I can think of is just that both the desire to want to constantly learn and having a basic toolkit of that head, hands, and heart that helps you fully wrap yourself around an issue or a growth opportunity.
Yeah. As you're talking, Sam, I'm thinking, and I can't remember if I even shared this with you when we met in Seattle over coffee, but when I was my last couple of years in the Navy, I was finishing this master's, and I was fairly miserable. If you want to rehash of that, go listen to episode number 1 when I talk about the day I almost took a swing at my boss. But remember, a lot of my instructors in my master's program at Chapman were graduates of maybe you're familiar, the Leadership Institute of Seattle, and a lot of our curriculum was stuff by Peter Senge and the leadership, the learning organization. It was really interesting, as I remember not knowing how things were going to work in civilian life, thinking this is going to be amazing. And so that was my foundation. Then, of course, I go out into the world and I see different organizations and cultures. And so it's neat to hear you talk about these things. It brings back memories. And now what I see coming full circle is all that stuff works. People that hear me talk and give talks, I'm not the most touchy-feely guy in front of a group, because managers, bosses, they don't have time for that. But I am here to tell you this stuff is real and it works. And it's been great to have you, Sam, kind of reaffirm all that with me, coming full circle back to mid to late 90s in Bremerton, Washington. So this has been really, really great. I've really enjoyed this talk. So Sam, I know now there's going to be people that want more. So how can my audience connect with you and get started on this journey? Or how can you help them out?
Get out to dancingshepherd.com, and that's Dancing Shepherd, DANCINGSHEPHERD.com. and would just love to connect that way. But would be happy to provide you that template for the leadership development piece, and also that process for creating a leadership development program in your organization. So if you just reach out to me, I'd be happy to share that with you and coach in any way that I can to help you get off that ground. It's a passion thing for me. Mac, as far as I'm concerned, it was much easier for me to develop a bunch of leaders and help that that boat rise with that rising tide than it was to try and do it all myself. So again, this is very practical kind of stuff. You start with some intrinsic, might be a kind of touchy-feely kind of stuff, but the reality is what you do is you light that fire. You light that fire from the inside out, and they will deliver amazing stuff. And so I'd love to share, with folks how that works and how I can help them do that in their organization. So reach out to me and Sam at DancingShepherd.com, and happy to do that. And I'll be happy to share those templates and take a look at anything that you've got that when you're making an effort to grow leaders.
Thank you. That's a generous offer, and we really appreciate it. Well, thanks for taking the time to listen to another episode of the Boss Builder Podcast. If you're listening to these as you are commuting to and from work, I would highly recommend you listen again when you get home, just so you can take some notes. We do our best to get you great information, and sometimes if you're like me, you got to write the stuff down. On another note, for your further development, if you work for an organization and you think that it would be valuable to partner with us, which I think is a good idea, we invite you to check us out online at thebossbuilders.com. We have 3 options: our signature driving results on-site workshop, which our trainers come out and deliver for you. We also have our very popular Boss Builder Academy, which is video-driven. And we also offer the option of having your organization license our training materials so that your trainers can go ahead and deliver them on site. If you're listening to our podcast on iTunes or on Stitcher, the other thing we'd appreciate is if you could just take a moment and leave us a brief, positive, of course, review. That would really help us out a great deal. And refer this podcast to anybody you know that you think could benefit from it. Until the next time we meet, get out there, boss up, boss on, and more importantly, make a commitment to being the boss at being a great boss. Goodbye.